Awesome. Action.
Yeah,
Or
we'll try to do that for like if we want to replace the audio.
okay.
All right, so we're all
Cool.
good.
You ready to roll?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
All right. You're listening to the Unruled podcast. I am W alongside with,
Dustin, also known as Dualbo.
and we're still producing the new season, which will be our second season of the Unruled podcast, and we had to come back and set the recording aside to do a special edition because of all of the crazy things that's been happening in the first 3 months of the year.
2019, man.
We're only 3 months in, and it's been just pure madness. And some of the topics we wanted to address. And before we get into that, got to do a couple housekeeping things. One of which is, if you haven't, go ahead and follow us on Instagram, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and iTunes. And my personal Instagram is W. That's spelled Dubelyo, and Dustin's is
Dualbo, Dualbo on Instagram and Twitter. Pretty active on Twitter, so I do like to get hit up on there. So conversation is lively.
very lively, folks.
Yeah.
Very, very, very lively.
Not too lively.
Very,
Yeah.
very. And also, we're doing this show in 360 video, so you could actually have a chance to see it on YouTube. So if you don't know what we look like or where we record or anything, you can see us in 360. So that's something we're testing out. Hopefully, we will be the first podcast to take it there.
First ever 360 podcast.
360 podcast.
We're gonna get the YouTube handle Unruled 360.
Yes. Unlike Anderson Cooper 360, which is not 360 at all, we're up on them. We're giving it to you incomplete view of everything that's around us. And right now we're recording at the Goat Farm in Atlanta, Georgia. And it's a pretty cool setup. We're in a place
maybe
called
we
the
should
Warhorse.
do some walkthrough videos on the channel as well.
Okay.
Let's try to use the YouTube to kind of supplement what we do on the
Yes.
podcast.
Little extra footage behind the
visual
scenes
for
stuff.
it.
Yeah, because you
Yeah.
got to see where creativity actually happens. Right now you just hear our voice. You don't really see what we're doing or
Yes.
where we're coming from.
It's kind of crazy to have an art podcast
No art.
because it's like, yeah, you see that painting? Yeah, I saw that painting.
Oh, yeah.
Even
yeah.
though you can't see it.
You can't see it, but
Yeah.
we talk about it. We try to use a lot of adjectives.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, today's topic is something that's been in the media a lot lately, especially in the last 2 years. It's called cancel culture. And Dustin, one more time, explain what cancel culture is for all those at home or listening in their cars or driving someplace. What is it if they're not up on it?
All right, so if you have followed along with any of the social media trends in the past, I'd say 5 years, one thing you will find especially if you're on Twitter, and especially amongst certain circles on Twitter, is this new thing of cancel culture, or the ability to cancel people from the public discourse around pop culture and ethics. I guess that's the way, and like the new kind of frontier of, what's considered socially acceptable. I would say cancel culture kind of leans on the side of a little bit on the political left, a little bit more so than anything else. And to make a long story short, it's along the lines of, for sake of example, you have a popular musician, athlete, celebrity, doesn't matter. There's video footage or evidence of them, or even just rumors of them doing something that's considered just kind of screwed up, and there then becomes the backlash that happens online, where we start to have groups of people publicly decide that they're going to cancel this person. And what that means is we're going to no longer buy their music or watch their movies, or we're no longer going to prop them up as someone to look up to in the public social media kind of celebrity environment that is, alive and well on your phone and has an impact over what you see on TV. So cancel culture is the culture surrounding that. How does the digital mob go after the offenders? And I think that's where we are now. And we wanted to kind of like have a discussion about the validity of cancel culture, some of the rules or issues around cancel culture, whether or not it actually is something that can help the public conversation or hurt, or a little bit of both. I don't know. So let's get into it.
So now, cancel culture isn't something that's new. They used to do it in Rome, and it was called, I think it's, I'm probably going to get this Latin stuff wrong, but damnato memori.
Donato Morai.
Yeah, it is a Latin phrase meaning condemnation of memory. That is a person to be excluded from all official accounts. So if this happened to you back in Rome, down comes your statues, your name gets stricken from all the records. They remove you from everything, documents and all that.
From history.
From history.
Yeah.
So you don't exist anymore. And the reason why this topic has come up is because of the recent documentaries on Michael Jackson, R. Kelly, and the bizarre interview with Gail King. Gail King.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Yeah, so let's get into that. Okay, so what the funny thing is with the whole R. Kelly and Michael Jackson thing, and not only is it R. Kelly and Michael Jackson, we're actually having that's kind of like where we are now because there's like media around it. There's
Yeah.
documentaries, there's
That's
interviews
the latest,
being had,
latest.
but also we have celebrity figures like your Harvey Weinsteins, your
Louis C.K.
Louis C.K., Kevin Spacey, right?
Yeah.
There hasn't necessarily been a documentary put out about some of these other guys, but so the media, social media kind of conversation is a little bit different. Being that you have more media surrounding like figures like R. Kelly or Michael Jackson, but we also have on the other side of cancel culture. We'll throw this in there. Is that back in January when a guy Jesse Smollett was pretty much came out in the media as like having been attacked by some what he said were right wing Make America Great Again hat wearing people that spotted him and attacked him for being black and being
You're trying
gay.
to put everything in the box today.
Yeah.
Everything. Is
No, I mean,
yeah.
but then like that story went out on over television and social media, and people were coming out showing support. Even the president of the United States currently, for as much as we don't think, I mean, like he even tweeted out some support and kind of condemning what happened to this guy. And then I think it took all of a week to start to kind of find out that there were some holes in his story, and he went from being the victim to the suspect in a really short amount of time. And so how does cancel culture reconcile with that too?
Yeah.
Do we cancel Jesse? I don't know. I didn't even, you know what I mean? So there's a lot going on there. It's a lot of things that I think we're having to deal with in the public kind of sort of conversation. So it's kind of a mixed bag, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that right now we're getting faced with a lot of things that causes the general public to really have to face and deal with concepts that challenge their beliefs. And if you're an artist and you create artwork that's in people's homes or people listen to it or people watch it or people do whatever, people feel like they know you. If they follow your work, they feel they know you. If they see you on TV, they feel they know you. And to find out that somebody that they know or they feel they know are doing horrible things, how do you, if like you're like, well, what did I see? What did I know? How do you deal with that? And part of that is getting to, okay, you know what? Let's stop listening to this person's music, or let's not go to this person's show. Do you think that is the best way to handle that? Or should you keep on supporting people?
See, that's the thing is that I think to some degree I totally empathize with someone who wants to say, you know what, Louis C.K. did this thing, so I don't watch Louis no more. I'm not gonna lie, like I liked Louis' show. I liked Louis' stand-up. It doesn't necessarily mean that I don't think it's entertaining or funny anymore, but it does kind of make you feel some type of way watching or participating in something. Then maybe somebody else on the outside would be like, hey, I can't believe you're still watching this guy's stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I can understand how people instantly want to kind of just do away with once they find out somebody has done something. I don't want to support them anymore. I don't want to actively give them my eyeballs or my attention or my money, and I can understand that. Unfortunately, there's a lot of things that we really don't want to know how the sausage is made, so to say, when it comes to who gives us entertainment, who gives us books, or who gives us the things that, pretty much make up our culture that we live in, right? And that's a hard, I mean, to this day and age, we might have too much information about people, and that might have a lot to do with it. Back in the day, you could have somebody who was, back in the 50s and 60s, somebody could have a really horrible real life personality, but the persona that was projected that we were entertained by was a character that they were playing, right? And I think that's the same thing happening today is that unfortunately we have a society that's all about reality TV, knowing a lot more about your favorite celebrity or somebody that you really identify with. And unfortunately, you're just getting a character. You're not actually, even in the things that you think are very real, it's still curated and presented to you in a way that makes it appealing and palatable. You know, I think our culture is one, whether it cancels or not, even with cancel culture, we're putting way too much weight into the moral uprightness of the people that we quote unquote identify with. It's a little too much celebrity worship, in my opinion. I think it's okay to just enjoy somebody for being an entertainer or an athlete and leave it at that because you really don't know that person.
Yeah, and I feel like this. There's some entertainers and some people I just don't mess with.
Yeah.
I just don't support. And that's fine. That's a personal thing. And I think that's where it boils down to. Do you personally want to support this person? And if that's cool,
Yeah.
if after you think about everything and you get to the point where you're like, okay, I'll still rock with this person. That's on you.
Yeah.
I was never a big R. Kelly fan to begin with. So for me, saying, I'm not messing with R. Kelly I wasn't really messing with him before. Now, when you get into a character or someone as big as Michael Jackson, whose, influences beyond they're actually the idea of Michael Jackson is bigger than Michael Jackson the person.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson the person, we're finding out, was probably a terrible person, but had some good qualities, but was doing terrible, horrific things.
Yeah.
And, but his influence is undeniable. He is, even if you mute him, you're still going to hear all of the people that were basing their careers on him still. So his influence is there. And I think that as audience members, we should just accept the fact that we don't know these people and that people that we don't know could be doing terrible things and acknowledge that. So that's how I feel about it. Now, while we were in here a second ago, they played a track that was a sample of Michael Jackson.
Right.
And I was like, damn, that's funky.
Yeah.
Even though a couple days ago, sat through 4 hours of horrific this very descriptive, account of some
I
of
would
the
argue
things.
too descriptive.
The story of what happened to these two guys, and their families and everything. But it's going to be really tough. And I think that's a conversation that people need to just have and really come to grips with it. Like, okay, you can like somebody's music and think they're terrible people. History's full of terrible people that did amazing things.
Yeah, that's true. But I also think we have to reconcile with the idea that our society, as it's come to this point, puts success and money has created a class of people that far too many positive attributes are attributed to them because of success and money.
Oh, yeah.
And our desire to be close to it or have a little bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Being successful does not make you a moral person. Having money does not make you a more knowledgeable person.
It doesn't make you smart.
It doesn't make you smart. It doesn't mean you're smart, and the other person that doesn't have it is not smart. We have to reconcile with the reality that we've all practiced this perception in a way that's actually to our detriment, because we've allowed outwardly successful, heavily resourced people to take on a persona and take on a place in our society where they're above the law and beyond reproach.
Oh yeah, and they get the benefit of the doubt.
And they get the extreme benefit
the
of the
extreme
doubt.
benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, because for the people who would argue that, man, Michael Jackson didn't do that, he just wasn't that type of person, he wouldn't do that. Okay, take away the money and take away the hits.
Yeah, take away the hit songs.
Same person.
Yeah, think about this. And I tell people this, like, listen, let's say your neighbor, let's make his name up, Michael J, right?
Yes, Michael J.
Michael J moves into the neighborhood and is like, you know what? I know I don't have any children of my own right now, but I'm going to open a playground for all the kids in the neighborhood to come play in my backyard.
And I'm going to put a movie screen in my
I'm going
house.
to put a movie screen with a bed in the back room, and I'm going to have all these toys and action figures. You know, I didn't have a childhood myself, so I'm just going to do all this for the community. Matter of fact, some of those people I'm going to invite over for a slumber party.
Yeah.
That sounds crazy.
Yes.
That sounds absolute bananas. You know, so, but the power of celebrity is so big and the persona is so large that people are like, well, you know, he's a weird guy. You know, it makes sense. Like, no, it doesn't make sense. You know, it doesn't make sense for somebody to have married a 15-year-old, which is fact,
Right.
and had allegations against them in the courts, which were fact. You even want to be around that person.
Yeah.
You know, if that was anybody else, you know, Robert K. with the same situation, you probably wouldn't want to be around them anyway.
Yeah.
But the power of celebrity is amazing. That
Yeah.
it would give you the benefit of the doubt, you know, to the point where you abandon basic reasoning ability.
Yeah.
When you hear things like, well, I don't believe all of them. Like, well,
Yeah.
how many do you believe? Well, what is an appropriate number to believe? You know?
And then it has an inverse effect where people believe that these people are targeted for extortion,
Which is probably
because
true.
they have money. And it's like, okay, so basically they are either blameless or potentially victims because of what they have, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why is it okay for us to regard people with means as a separate class and a separate type of person than everybody else, right? And I think that's a failing on our society. I think we're having to reconcile with that,
Yeah.
right? And not everybody that's going to be giving you great products or entertainment is going to be a good person, right? We can't have a moral list like, did you never say anything against this group of people? Did you always do everything right? That's just not literally going to happen, and nor is that really realistic. You know what I mean? Especially in certain types of entertainment. Some types of entertainment, the only way that entertainment really works is because you got kind of a screwed up person providing you a lurid detail or a lurid account of
Yeah.
of things that they experience, right?
And
So it's kind of interesting because it's like with cancel culture, it reminds me of the concerned parent council that would be really concerned with whether or not there's hidden messages in Disney movies. You know,
Yeah.
remember that? Like in the 80s where it's like, what are they putting in these movies? Look what's happening. Freeze
well,
frame
the thing
it,
is,
you know?
it's like I guess it's sort of as you said earlier, a mob mentality.
Yeah, it is mob
You know,
mentality.
I think that it's if you don't want to support someone with your attention, which that is pretty much
Yeah, you shouldn't.
what the I guess that is the monetary thing that everybody wants now. Social media and all that, that's all about getting your attention.
Yeah.
People are personal brands because they want your attention. So if you don't want to support somebody, cool. Don't support them with your money or your mind.
Yeah, that's true. I would
You
agree
know,
with that.
Don't
Yeah.
support them with your money or your mind. Because, you know, it's like you just don't, if that's not what you're about and that doesn't fit into what you value, Let it be known, and that's not what you do.
Yeah.
You know, just like there's certain things you just don't eat.
Yeah.
You just don't mess with it.
Yeah. Taco Bell.
You just don't mess with it.
Unless we're getting sponsored, then I love Taco Bell.
Yes, and if Taco Bell is out there listening,
They do got nacho fries.
but yeah, you know, and I would say if anything else, people think I'd say just think about like what you're actually hearing, and apply those same rules to anybody else, and hold people to the same standards legally and socially.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
hold them to the same standards,
Regardless of whether or not they're a billionaire, regardless of whether or not they're like
or a thousandaire.
or a thousandaire or a sub thousandaire. And I think we really have to reconcile with the fact that we do have a public court of public opinion and a court of actual laws that is subject to the whims of people's perception of value, to how they are valued in a society. And that's really what we're dealing with, is that people can have an account or a story of somebody abusing them, and then it's not taken seriously, because I think a lot of people don't realize that a lot of times people only see their day in court because of the bias of their arresting officer.
Mm-hmm.
Just because there's evidence of somebody committing a crime doesn't necessarily mean they'll face a day in court or they'll actually face prosecution, unless there's a whole lot of mechanism in place that says this is how we're going to handle this, right? So you can have a person who's a child who's a victim of abuse that's put in a situation where they won't pursue charges because, hey, the victimization's already happened, and now they're faced with a situation: go through court, go through all this examination, or shut up and take $100,000, you know, to stay quiet and to not testify, you know. But our system allows for that sort of like horrible decision making to be placed on the side of somebody who's actually been victimized, right? And that, unfortunately, we're in a society, and I do think cancel culture is trying to use the means that people have to address that, right? I do believe that there's a noble sort of intent behind it. I don't actually think the intent is negative. I just worry about the actual outcome being hijacked by other forces or whatever to use that same context and do something that's really kind of horrific, which is, once you change the value, like if it's cancel culture is being driven by one group that sort of, let's say it's more politically aligned with me, then I can get behind it. Let's say it's driven by another group that I'm not politically aligned with, then I'm like, I don't know if I like the outcome of that behavior, right? And that's why we got to actually have a better situation where the laws and the way our legal framework works, the justice system is actually just, right? In its current workings, we're starting to see that. I think people are starting to accept that, yeah, it is not. Like, the outcome for some people versus other people is very different.
Yeah, and with the thing like with Michael Jackson, you know, he went to court.
He
went to court, and R. Kelly went to court.
Yeah.
And
OJ went to court.
OJ did go to court, and it's really hard to convict rich people.
Yeah.
It is really hard to convict them, like extremely hard, because they have the resources to take the evidence and spin another story.
Yeah.
And I guess with cancel culture, that is a way for some folks to get justice.
Yeah, get justice. Yeah.
But what happens when the person you want to get justice against is no longer alive?
Well, I mean, there is no justice to be had. They're held more so as an effigy for they're kind of like a head on a pike sort of thing. It's not about the justice, it's about the example and the show of force. And also, if you also bring into, we're talking about people, Michael Jackson and R. Kelly, and they're black men, and it's like, then there's that other layer of, well, these aren't typically the people that the justice system works for historically in the United States. So then you got people that feel the need to defend, I guess, their actions. I don't know, like defend their position under some kind of weird, sort of twisted way of saying, well, I'm defending him because normally he would be, only reason this is happening to him because this is like a public lynching of a black man. And it's like, no, the dude actually, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, but he did get away. And then at the same time, there's all these other layers, right? But when you think about just the base minimum, that if you have the resources you can to expend, you can commit crimes in this country against very defenseless people, and you have a good chance of walking away.
Yeah.
And recouping your losses.
Depending on how long your bread is.
Depending on how long your bread is.
I feel that's true. You know,
yeah.
It's just real unfortunate because that's where we are. You know, on one side we got celebrities who can do crimes, or be accused of serious crimes with evidence.
Evidence of committing a crime.
And they have so much social cachet and resources with people that reasonable doubt is like thrown out the window.
Yeah.
You know, you could, you're just like, or they get like an unusual amount of reasonable doubt. You know, an unusual amount of reasonable doubt. So, like, we don't know exactly what's going to happen with the R. Kelly case, but I can say that there has been a lot of, we have reason to believe, reason to believe that, that he's going to be going to jail. But the thing is, we hope the legal system will do their job.
Yeah.
And that's the fact is, we are hoping,
In this instance, I can say that if I were to place a bet, I would bet heavily that R. Kelly is going to jail this go round. Mm-hmm. He's gonna answer for a lot of his crimes and behavior. And no, I don't need to see a videotape. I don't need evidence. Listen, it don't take maybe it's just my opinion, but honestly, I think it's very obvious that the allegations hold. I don't know how much evidence you need. There are people who have been very famous with a lot of money, where people have tried to accuse them of stuff to get money out of them, where they accuse them of lesser things that are a little bit more believable, that they were being extorted. It takes a lot to try to cook up a whole narrative of you doing all these things, but you willfully are participating in it.
Mm-hmm.
And you are walking the thin line, the fine line. You are. No one's telling you to do it. It wasn't like these women are coming out of the woodworks and he's like, hey, she looked like she was 35. She come to find out she's 16. Like, no. You're walking the thin line. You're actively pursuing this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of obvious, I mean, even with Michael Jackson, I mean, everybody can have their cognitive dissonances as much as they want, but the reality of it is like that no adult human being is trying to sleep in the same bed with a child.
Well,
we have to accept that is
not cool. That's not cool for anybody.
Anybody. No, I mean, I don't.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean,
where a lot of these. On a side note, a lot of these celebrities.
What?
Where they just basically just shoot themselves in the foot. Is when they feel that they're so convincing that they want to do a television interview. That interview R. Kelly did was, his lawyer should be fired for letting that happen.
No, his publicist.
His publicist that was like dabbing his forehead and
yes,
trying to keep that hairline sharp. That guy.
Yeah.
needs to go, man. That shouldn't have happened. Shout out to Gail Cake for keeping cool under fire.
Yeah.
Because she handled that situation like a boss.
Robert.
It's like, Robert.
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 Come on now, Robert.
It was his acting in that situation, and I believe it's acting. I do believe he was angry.
Who do you think had a better TV interview? Was it
I would say,
was it Robert Kelly, R. Kelly, or was it Jussie?
okay, I would say Jesse had his was more polished because he is a trained professional actor.
Yeah.
So it was more polished.
He's definitely not a director.
He is not a director, nor is he a storyteller.
He's not a good storyteller.
He's a terrible storyteller.
Yeah.
You know, but R. Kelly, come on, bruh. Come on. That was, the acting in that was just, first of all, if you're going to say you did not sleep with underage girls, say it with your head. Don't say,
I did not do that.
yeah, don't do that.
I did not do that.
Don't say with your mouth, I
Are
didn't
they
do
lying?
it.
No, they're not. No, yes, they're lying. Yes, they are lying.
Your head and your mouth need to send the same message. That's basic. Didn't they have a TV show called Lie to Me or something like that?
Lie to Me.
That was like the first episode or something. That is the number one thing. And second of all, don't make it about the camera. A woman who's a professional in her field on CBS in the morning show is talking to you, and you talking to the camera.
Is that the camera right there? Yeah, that's
Is that the camera?
You know. like, come on, man.
Come on, bro. Come
Yeah.
on. And another thing,
Yeah.
80 minutes is a long time to do an interview.
Yeah,
That's a
pretty much.
long time.
Yeah.
So outside of that, that's just on a side note, like that was just nonsense.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that, you know, as a society, we get to watch people lie so often on TV. Before, you know, lies, that's one thing, but now we're getting to see uncut, raw lies.
Yeah.
It is purest concentrated form on television. And watching the person interviewing them keep cool and give them the look of, come on now, what are you doing? That's priceless.
I think her look
That's
was
priceless.
like, I have hit the jackpot. Oh my God. I knew this was going to be good,
But
but I didn't
not
know
this
it
good.
This good. Jeez, he just walked in here and just handed me like journalism gold.
That's like the quiet professional look of someone who just won the lottery. She won. That just set her over the top, you know.
Wow.
When contract negotiations come up, all they got to do is play that video,
Yes.
and that's why I want the money.
That's why I want the money. Yeah. I think in this day and age, I mean, this is a conversation we probably could revisit when the next scandal happens.
Which will
'cause
probably
it's
be
never
like
gonna-
tomorrow.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be tomorrow.
Like
Yeah,
we'll probably find out something bizarre happened.
Yeah.
They're like,
Oh my God. But I do think with cancel culture, I think there are going to be some problems with the way things are handled in the court of public opinion because of how people are getting sort of conditioned to have these kind of conversations, because it can be used in a very, it's a weapon now. Like we're weaponizing people's opinions of people in the public.
mm-hmm.
It's a weapon. And anytime you create a weapon, even if you created a weapon to protect yourself, you always have to be mindful of that weapon getting out of your hands and being used against you, right? And I think that's the thing that I am concerned about. But the intent is correct, because the intent comes from a place where our justice system isn't necessarily working to bring justice to the people or protect the people that are vulnerable, you know? And I can understand that, because like a lot of in the instances we're talking about, these are children that were kind of left to the wolves.
and
now we're having a discussion as to whether or not we're being fair to the wolf.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I see it.
This will be concluding our surprise episode of the Unruled podcast. And we're still going to be producing more shows. We're about to drop the second season once we're done. It'll be Dustin and I, probably with some guests, different topics.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep continuing to give you content and conversations about things that reflect art and culture. And we want to definitely get you guys to get out there. Make sure you get a chance to support us by following us on Instagram, liking us on iTunes, Stitcher, and whatever other
SoundCloud,
whatever podcasts.
We need to figure out a way to get on Spotify.
Yes,
That's where I listen to a lot of podcasts.
well, we need to figure a way to get purchased by Spotify while you're talking.
Yes.
You know,
Spotify, we're open to taking
to
check.
get some of that gimlet money.
Yeah, and I guarantee you, we will not get canceled.
Like, we will not cancel this culture right here.
Yeah.
So make sure to follow myself at DUBELYOO on Twitter and Instagram, and you can follow Dustin at
Dualbo, DUALBO, Twitter and Instagram.
Thank you very much for listening to the Unruled Podcast.
And we're out.